What is the highest mountain you have climbed? I dated a beautiful model once. I think I surprised her when I screwed up the courage to ask her out. And the only answer she could come up was a polite yes. She spent the whole date telling me how much she was looking forward to going with some other guy on a whitewater rafting trip the following weekend, then thanked me for dinner and went home. But at least I had an entire restaurant full of people staring at me in puzzlement for 2 hours. NT Washington in New Hampshire with my dad when I was little. But what was more difficult was Blackmore in Bozeman, Montana, because I had no idea what I getting into. I was passing through with a friend in the middle of summer when this dude we stayed with asked us spontaneously if we wanted to go for a light hike. There was snow on the peak, and I was probably wearing Vans sneakers. Of course I had no winter gear. It was fucking July. Rough mountain that lots of people will need to climb in their lives. It is not easy to do it alone. In my case, I had the best partner in the world, and I managed it. I wish such partner for everyone. Merope, over 2,900 meters beast of a volcano. It was a night climb for the sunrise. I thought it will be touristy track like Bromo. I almost died in these high volcanic ash. Only later I learnt it's one of the most active volcanoes in whole Indonesia. It's quite common to erupt, and it was more on one occasion that it killed a lot of people. Cerro del Centinela, 780 meters, 2,559 feet. I climbed from the very base, which sits at sea level. If we're talking about climbing a little bit, then the title goes to Cerro La Bufa, near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's 2,600 meters, 8,530 feet, but we drove almost to the top, and then climbed the last 100 meters of elevation by foot. I have multiple disabilities that won't see me climbing anywhere, but I drove to the parking area on Whiteface Mountain and climbed up the staircase to the peak. When I was younger and healthier, I'm slightly acrophobic, so it was scary for me. For 1,867 feet elevation, the view was both scary and awesome. My claim to summit fame is conquering Mount Procrastinatas, the peak of delaying responsibilities. It's a treacherous climb, filled with perilous distractions and a relentless fog of YouTube videos. The view from the top is cluttered with unfinished tasks, but the sense of accomplishment is unparalleled. Penwy Fan, Wales. Not the highest, really, 886 meters, but it is part of the SAS selection process. Obviously, it wasn't without carrying the heavy stuff, and we went on the easy path, but it was cool because we timed it to reach the peak at sunrise. NT Powell is the highest mountain I've ever summited, 13.5 thousand feet, which is pretty good. We timed it terribly. A storm started to blow in as we got near the top. Couldn't see shit through the clouds and snow when we got up there. And the hike back down was brutal just because of the weather. Then Nevis, while 1,345 meters for 1,412 feet isn't all that high. You're likely starting your day at sea level in the nearby town of Fort William, so you will be climbing every inch. The main route is pretty chill unless you get a lot of fog, but it's still best to leave your diary clear the next day. Huayna Potosi in Bolivia. Got to around 6,000 meters. However, the weather was so terrible and the risk of avalanches was too high to make it to the summit, which was only 88 meters higher. Really increased my respect for people who climb mountains. Altitude sickness is no joke. Highest altitude was Montserrat in Bogota, 3,152 meters. But the highest I've climbed in one go would be a random mountain in Andorra, where we hiked 1 kilometer in elevation. IDK which mountain though. We just kind of followed a trail until it ended, then started walking uphill. Jebel Toubkal or Toubkal is a mountain peak in southwestern Morocco, located in the Toubkal National Park. At 4,167 meters, it is the highest peak in Morocco, the Atlas Mountains, North Africa and the Arab world. In winter, so it was snow and ice bound. Pretty cool. Mauna Kea on Hawaii at 13,800 feet. Drove to the top though. What's crazy is we went from snorkeling that morning to driving up Mauna Kea for the sunset and stargazing. I've also driven countless mountain passes in Colorado that are at similar height, as others have also done. Went up and down Fuji in a day. Nearly missed the bus back and my knees were dead for the next couple of days. Still an amazing experience, and watching the mountain's shadows stretch out as the sun went behind Fuji was surreal. MT, Whitney 14-something. Been on multiple of the 14ers in CA. I've actually been higher 16-something on Yulongshun Jade Dragon Snow Mountain in China, but it's not technically the top, so I can't say I've climbed it. Because I haven't. I believe it was Green NT or Cascada NT in New York, but then again I lived in Montana for a year and did a lot of climbing hiking. So not even sure what the names of those peaks were, but I guarantee they were much higher in elevation. Raising a kid to be a very nice and lovely teenager that I'm proud of. It was a cool mountain to climb, and I enjoy every minute of it. But I had to do lots of small steps one after the other every day, and sometimes my thighs got sore. The highest mountain I've climbed was Mount Buffalo, Victoria, Australia at 723 meters, 5,653 feet above sea level. I got stung by a bull ant at the top. I live in Australia and have never left a country, so my options are limited. Ljubotin in Kosovo, not a giant compared to so many of those listed here at 2,498 meters, 8,196 feet. But I dislocated my shoulder the day before I went up, and that sucked just a little bit. Old Mount Menopause. I'm still get to one peak only to find 6 more have suddenly sprung into existence. But Dex bitch from the lowest level of hell chasing after you while using your wife as a sock puppet. I did Ben Nevis in Scotland. I know this is tiny in comparison to others, but I did it. The last hour was truly in snow, following the footprints of those that went before us and poor visibility. It was scary but worth it. I don't think it has a name, and I didn't climb it. I just walked up it, somewhere in the Kiamichi Range in the Ouachitas. Maybe 1,700 feet elevation. We don't have any other mountains for hundreds and hundreds of miles. Kalapatar probably doesn't count as a proper mountain, but it's 5,644 meters. Otherwise, for a proper mountain, I think it's Rignoni 3,726 meters. Emission is also over 3K, but Inari was by far the most difficult. Mount Lincoln, Mosquito Range, COUSA. There are actually 3 14ers connected to each other. So down one side of the saddle and up the other side to X, and you can get 3 by 14ers in one day. E14,293 feet. Cairngorm in Scotland 1,245 meters. And I did it in January with an average temperature of 10°C and almost 0 visibility all the way out. Not sure why I thought that was a good way to spend the morning, to be honest. NT Washington when I was 8. We had to take a shuttle down because of my dad's knees, so I can't even claim it on my NH for 1,000-footers yet. It will be the last one I get before isolation. Then I'm done. My sibling and I hiked Cadillac Mountain in Bar Harbor. Me on New Year's Day, 2020, to be some of the first people to witness sunrise in the United States that year. It was cloudy. San Gregorio was 11,500. San Jacinto was 10,800. I've been up every single tall mountain in San Diego County, the tallest of which are around 6,500. I'd like to do Mount Whitney one day. Mauna Kea on the Big Island of Hawaii. It's 13,803 above sea level, but if you measure from the ocean floor, it's the tallest mountain on Earth. In your face. Everest people. Kondu Peak at 14,272 feet, probably the easiest of the 14ers. But it was still super hard. I live at basically sea level, and there's no oxygen up at that elevation. To my knowledge, the highest I've ever been was MT Fuji, and I summited during my trip to Japan. But there may be some mountains in Utah I've skied on that were higher. Trekked over Dead Woman's Pass in Peru on the way to Machu Picchu. At its peak it is 13,828 feet for 1,215 meters. Seriously hard going near the top, but the views were worth it. Mount Elbert, just under 14,500 feet. Second is Rainier. Had plans to climb Mont Blanc just above 15,000. but had to abandon it due to conditions being unsafe. Mount Etna, at about 3,000 meters, was the highest point we got to that trip due to volcanic activity. Going to Rainbow Mountain in Peru this summer around 5,000 meters. I've never climbed any mountain, but I took the tram to the top of Pikes Peak 14,115 feet, or 4,300 meters. I also went to Gornagrat 10,285 feet, 3,135 meters. The highest mountain I've climbed is Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. It was an incredible experience, and the views from the summit were breathtaking. I opened this assuming it would be like sobriety, parenting, losing my wife, completing Ocarina, etc. You're all actually just naming mountains, huh? Carantahul in the McGillicuddy's Reeks. It's only about 1,000 meters, but that's as high as it gets in Ireland. Yes, that's a real place. Intifanzipen. Not tall, but it's the tallest mountain in Indochina, I believe. Recommend time 3 days. My time 15 hours. Edited is 3,150 ms. Less climb. More hike, but I love MT. LeConte in Tennessee. Awesome. Beautiful hike with a cute little village on top to eat lunch at. Thorong La Pass on the Annapurna Circuit in Nepal. 5,416 meters, 17,769 feet. Pretty incredible. Pretty hard to breathe all the way up there too.